Hello, and welcome to our League of Women Voters Mount Baldy Area Candidate Forum for City Council District 2. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Today's recording will be posted to our YouTube channel for future viewing. Vote by mail ballots are in the mail. You should be receiving them soon. We will also, as a league, we will be doing a proposition pro and con coming up. You can view that through our YouTube channel as well. With that, I would like to welcome our participants today. Jessica McLaughlin, who is on the board of the League of Women Voters Mount Baldy Area, will be assisting us today, helping field questions and timing the candidate responses. And our candidates today are Peter Yao, former Claremont City Council member, and Ed Reece, current Mayor Pro Tem of Claremont. Thank you both for joining us. The format for today will be, we will have 2-minute opening remarks from each candidate, and then 1 minute and 30-second responses to questions, followed at the end by a 2-minute closing statement. Any questions that you as viewers would like to submit, please place into the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Again, thank you all. We will begin with Mr. Yao and his opening statement.
How long do we have on the opening statement? 2 minutes? Oh, minute and a half?
2 minutes.
Okay. My name is Peter Yao. I've been living in Claremont for over 50 years. My first term on the city council was 2003 to the 2007. And then I did not finish my second term because with 3 months to go, I was elected to the redistricting commission in California. There were 14 of us on the commission, and we spent 10 years traveling around California, enjoying all the elected districts or all the assembly positions and Senate positions, as well as the legislative or the congressional districts for state of California. So my term had ended in 2020, and this is the first time I can run for a seat on the city council. I have 3 master's degrees, one in engineering and 2 in management. One is MBA and the other one from Claremont Graduate University. There are a few things I want to try to accomplish before I go away. One of it is I like to see the city work much closer with the university. This being a college town, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve the ambient of the university and take advantage of working with the university. I have found over the years that I travel overseas that more people know about the city of Claremont from their association with the college as compared to knowing Claremont directly. I think by teaming with the college, we can make Claremont a more popular place for people to visit, and I'm sure we'll get our tourist business to a great extent. If you're not aware of it, both hotels, the one in downtown and the Foothill Doubletree Hotel, most of their business are with the colleges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Ed, please.
Well, thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting the forum. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to kind of always connect with the community. I always appreciate that. But serving as your current council member for the last 4 years has just been quite an honor. Despite the considerable pandemic challenges, I've helped make remarkable progress and achieved numerous accomplishments for our residents. We had a $2.5 million projected structural deficit when I took office in 2018. Last year, we had a $4.2 million budget surplus. And this week, we will declare another $4.72 million surplus. Our city is financially strong. Additionally, I helped to provide business grants for community-based businesses, established an outdoor dining program during the pandemic, restored our visitor center funding for the chamber, significantly reduced our pension liabilities, increased our general fund reserves, added another police officer position to strengthen our public safety, and created the psychiatric assessment care team to address mental health and the unhoused, a program I'm really, really happy about. Lastly, among a lot of other things, we also restored our CBO funding though. I will share that it's important that we must continue to prepare for our natural emergencies, maintain our fiscal stability, continue to enhance public safety and support our community. Much more work is needed to keep Claremont a desirable place to live, work, and raise a family. I want to protect Claremont's best qualities, its character, its family appeal, its excellent services, and over century traditions. Your support and your vote will allow me to continue this necessary and rewarding work. Thank you for the opportunity to open up the conversation.
Thank you, Ed. We will start with the first question that will be to you, Ed. Both candidates today have served on the Claremont City Council. What did you learn during your time on council, and how did these experiences inform how you will govern in the future?
Well, it's a great question. As a business owner for 27 years, I learned that I could bring some of my for-profit expertise into the operations of government in enhancing the operation, enhancing how we tackle problems, and as well as taking that expertise and that experience in regards to our overall fiscal strength. I also have learned that it also is a longer process sometimes to get things completed. There's 5 decision makers on every critical decision in this in the city. There's 5 decision makers on it. So it sometimes requires us to massage through those problems and come up with significant solutions that we all can have some consensus around. So I think I've learned a lot in regards to being able to tackle those problems, but also learn that a little bit of patience. And I appreciate working with my colleagues. They are a fantastic group of individuals. We all have our individual strengths that when we come together, we're a strong, strong unit. And so I look forward to continuing that work in the future.
Thank you, Peter. Your answer.
This is Peter Yao speaking. Well, it seems like a long time ago. My first term was back in 2003. When I first got on the council in meetings where we had with other city officials in a regional and also national conference, I found that a lot of people didn't even know where Claremont was. They thought we were part of the San Bernardino County. So there were a lot of activity throughout that first year to try to sell Claremont to all the regional cities. There are, I believe, 40 some cities in the Los Angeles County, and most of the day-to-day issues that we addressed during the first during the first term on the city council were within issues within the levy, within the city. But soon you'll find that the issues that all of us can work together in the Los Angeles County are much bigger, have much bigger impact on the residents in Claremont. Also, we learned to see what the others doing in terms of addressing the same problem that we're trying to address in Claremont. The city issue after the first few years tend to repeat itself. We pass legislation, we pass various items, but the impacting decisions are much more difficult, and it requires us working together with other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next question, and we will begin with you. With Claremont now divided into council districts, what do you see as the specific needs for District 2? And what is your plan to address these needs?
When I stood in front of Vance Market, talking to as many District 2 voters as I can, a couple of issues continuously come up. One of it has to do with traffic along Padua Avenue. When I went back and checked the map, there are 500 to 600 households in Claremont in District Number 2 that routinely use the Padua Boulevard to get onto the freeway, whether it's the 210 freeway or the 10 freeway further south. And the complaint that I've heard is the car are awful fast. The streets are awful narrow. And when you have runners and mother with carriages and dogs and so on tagging along, the street is really too narrow, and it's much narrower than it should be for the amount of pedestrian and car traffic. So that I sense is probably the biggest issue within Claremont. The secondly is the theft and burglary issue that happened in the North Claremont, and that has accelerated itself because of the opening of the 210 freeway. But when I check into the statistics, I find that the South Claremont has a much worse problem than we do. And what I propose to do is set up a lot more cameras so we can capture the license plate, which is what the automated license plate reader does in the police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Sure. With Claremont divided into council districts, what do you see as the specific needs of District 2, and what is your plan to address them?
Yeah, thanks for the question. You know, there's some things that happen in District 2 that really affect all the community, but I'm going to address some of those. There was conversation about crimes that happen around the home, whether it be catalytic converter theft, burglary, etc. There was conversation about speeding, and I will share on both of those counts that I drove and championed to get another officer in our department so that we could address those speeders. We have a new officer that just recently graduated in the last 2 weeks through the Motorcycle Traffic Enforcement Bureau. So they're part of our Traffic Enforcement Bureau. This now a new officer will be on motorcycle duty and is authorized and certified to do so. So we'll be addressing those speeders. Additionally, in regards to the crimes around the home, with that extra officer, it allows us to provide specialized patrol where we can focus in on certain areas that need to be addressed. In regards to burglaries, I am hosting a neighborhood watch that will be happening in the District 2 area. Matter of fact, at Western Christian. Thank you to Western Christian for hosting it. And we'll be doing that later this month, along with the chief of police and some of our police management will be there to help our residents really kind of create an opportunity to protect themselves, learn how to fortify their own homes. It's all about making it harder for a burglar, for a bad person, and I hope they can learn that at this neighborhood watch.
Thank you for your response. The next question will go to Peter. According to the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, 35% of Claremont residents live in renter-occupied housing, and over 50% of those residents experience moderate to severe rent burden. What is your plan to support these tenant residents in the city of Claremont?
Well, as more people want to move into Claremont, and we know that's indeed the case, they bid up the price of houses, and also at the same time, the rent has to be increased because of the greater property value associated with all the drawings within Claremont. The long-term solution really is to build a few more slightly smaller and perhaps go up a couple stories up to the 3-story limit so that we can accommodate the people that are stretching to pay the rents. One such group are the students that are currently attending the Claremont colleges, and upon their graduation, if they want to continue studying in Claremont, they'll find that they can almost never afford the market price associated with the housing. So by building more of these smaller units, we can accommodate more of these individuals. There are many people that are currently living outside of the city for that reason alone. But I think in order to encourage them to stay in Claremont in the long haul, we really should make more affordable housing for both of them. And also, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, the affordable housing groups. Thank you.
Ed, would you like me to repeat the question? You're muted.
Gosh, thanks a lot. No, I think I'm okay. It's in regards to supporting tenant residents in Claremont. And, you know, I have a record of voting for affordable housing. And that includes the senior housing program that we have up on Baseline that will be built in this coming year. There's a number of ways to address affordable housing. One is in regards to ADUs. I advocated for an ADU grant program to spur and to incentivize homeowners in Claremont to build ADUs, to allow opportunity for others to come into our community, or those that are in our community for them to move to a unit that more fits their financial need. And so that ADU grant program is one way of a multifaceted approach needed to address affordable housing, and specifically for tenant residents. The other thing that I will share is that this coming week, we actually the council will be addressing some concerns in regards to tenant resident rights, and so we'll be addressing that on Tuesday. And I look forward to having that conversation on how we can continue to make sure that everyone has opportunity to live here. And so that will be happening, and I look forward to supporting those efforts.
Thank you, Ed. This next question will go first to Peter. Last spring, Claremont experienced an unprecedented windstorm, toppling trees, disrupting the power supply, and causing extreme damage to both city and private property. How can Claremont, in the midst of climate change, prepare for future disasters?
Last, I guess, when was it? Maybe a few months ago, the windstorm was just tip of the iceberg. We have been underwatering our vegetation, including trees, for a number of years. And with the beetle infestation, last year, a lot of trees actually had died. And from the tree that were fallen, when we examined these individual trees, they're very heavily stressed. So this old tradition of city of trees and PhDs, we probably have to think twice in terms of how to sustainably nurture all these trees on Claremont, because unfortunately the dry climate and the lack of water and the encouragement to save the water, the vegetations are taking a heavy beating. And I forgot what the second part of the question was.
How can we prepare for future disasters?
Water, unfortunately, is the main part of our disaster planning. Years ago, we had an earthquake, and also years ago, back in the early 2000s, we had the fire that swept through our northern Claremont. And both of these can through emergency preparedness can prepare residents greatly associated with defending themselves against the emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. This will go to Ed. Over the last several years, Claremont has faced a structural deficit. Cutbacks to services and personnel and an influx of stimulus funding have put us on better footing. How will you continue to maintain a balanced budget while meeting the needs of residents?
Thank you for the question. I think Mr. Yao may have a question.
You may want to answer the previous question also.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Ed, did you not answer? Did I skip ahead?
Yeah, that's okay. I can go back to them.
Let's go back. Let me read, apologies to everybody. Let me read that previous question, allow you to answer, and then we'll move on. Thanks so much. Last spring, Claremont experienced an unprecedented windstorm, toppling trees, disrupting power supply, and causing extreme damage to both city and private property. How can Claremont prepare for future disasters in the wake of climate change?
Well, thank you for the question. You know, that Saturday when I woke up, it was devastating. And we had a priority setting meeting that day. And I called the city manager and said, we need to call off this meeting and focus and tend to our residents. And I went out that day and was out for almost 12 hours that day, making sure that our community was okay, making sure that our residents were getting the support that they need. I also went out Sunday for most of that day as well to visit with them and to make sure they're getting services and the streets cleared, et cetera. There's a lot that we can do, and we are doing it. Since the windstorm, since the loss of 300 plus trees and damage to sidewalks and hardscapes, we have made the conscious decision to look at all of our trees, to analyze every tree, to make sure we have the right tree in the right place, that it's healthy, that it's strong, and that it's maintained appropriately. Currently, that is being done. We have a contract arborist going around and looking at every tree, every city tree, to make sure that we are in the right place with it. But moving forward, we may need to look at our urban forest. Do we have the right trees in the right place? Do we have, is there a risk to some of these trees? Should those trees be removed? Should those trees be addressed? Absolutely, we should address those trees. And so I think there's a lot more to come. In regards to the drought is having an impact, I think, on all of us, not just in our trees, but in our turf and in our mental health, quite frankly. And I think that there is opportunity to address all of that, but we have made conscious steps forward to address that at this time.
Thank you so much for that answer. I will go back to our next question that I already read, and this is to you, Ed. Over the last several years, Claremont has faced a structural deficit. Cutbacks to services and personnel and an influx of stimulus funding have put us on better footing. How would you continue to maintain a balanced budget while meeting the needs of residents?
That's a great question. You know, in regards to that, as I shared earlier in my opening, we had a deficit coming in. We had to make some cuts. We had to make some tough decisions to make sure we can get through the pandemic. That has turned out to be a decision that was wise and successful. Last year, when we had that $4.2 million surplus, this year, our upcoming $4.72 million surplus, those are not federal dollars. Those are not specifically ARPA funds. That is additional funding that we have access to. This is based on decisions that staff, that the council has made, along with positive impact from some of our top taxpayers in town, being able, like the car dealerships, like the hotels, et cetera. So that's how we've really turned the corner in a collaborative way. In regards to continually addressing it, I think it's something that we have to always be addressing. And that is why I'm requesting on Tuesday to increase our reserves to 30%. Right now we're at 25%. I believe we should go to 30%. another pandemic, another windstorm, another catastrophe is going to happen. And we need to have the financial base and be sound financially to be able to address our concerns moving forward. In regards to employees, we have brought back positions in our planning department, in our human services department, and we've added positions in our police department, along with bringing back CBO funding. So we are headed in the right direction, and we need to continue this momentum forward.
Thank you. Peter, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's not
All
necessary.
right, great.
Claremont has always been able to meet our annual budget. Our annual budget for the city of Claremont is somewhere around $40,000. But the discretionary portion of the budget these are the part of the budget that we pay the employee salary. We fix the sidewalk. We do all the necessary things to keep Claremont going. It's only about half that, a little over $20 million. Maybe at times there were around $25 million. And that's not an awful lot of money to take care of Claremont. And over the years, we actually have gone into debt a great deal. This has to do with the employee pension. If you simply go to the Claremont website and click on the pension item, you see the deficit today. The number that's dated 2018 is $56.5 million. So if you simply count the money coming in for that year and the money going out that year, it really looks like we're doing okay. But in the long run, Claremont is facing a almost impossible situation. We're likely to go bankrupt over this pension underfunding, and this is the problem that I would welcome to address, because if we continue kicking the can ahead, which the past few city council has, we're going to go bankrupt, and the state is going to take over the running of the Claremont business, and we're going to be in deep, deep trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. The next one will go to you.
We do have a live question.
Great.
It's from Roxanne Simonian. I hope I didn't mispronounce that last name. If I did, I apologize. The question is, can zoning for the horse property around Grand Ave be changed and have the horse trails and riding ring at Vale Park removed?
You want me to address it first?
Thank you. That goes to
Okay.
you, Ed. Peter, sorry.
Well, in regards to the horse trails and the riding ring, any type of zoning changes would have to be analyzed. And there is sometimes consequences in changing zoning. And that includes where we would have to look at CEQA again, reopen the CEQA document. So it could be a whole process. I would say that we could definitely look into it. There may be a specific concern why this is coming up, and I would ask the person asking the question to reach out to me at edreece.com. Just reach out to me, and I'm happy to look into more in detail. But I can say that I've been up the Grand Avenue Horse Trail. I actually was up there a couple of weeks ago and asked for staff to make sure that that trail was well maintained and cleaned. When I looked at it, it needed some work, and we are addressing that. But there is always an opportunity to look at zoning. But again, it could have impacts to others, other property owners. It could have impacts to the environment that have not been analyzed. And so to do that again, there's potentially a reopening of that CEQA, additional costs that could come from that. And but it's worth having some conversation and definitely looking at the details.
Thanks, Ed. To you, Peter, would you like us to repeat the question?
No, that's fine. When I was first got onto the council in 2003, there were fewer than 10 families that actually has a property big enough to raise horses. And over the 2 terms that I served in the council, there's been very few requests to expand that. And when I do my exercise on a daily basis along the Thompson Creek Trail, periodically the one property along the west part of the trail actually housed a few horses along, and they would take the horse and walk along the Townsend Creek Trail. You're welcome to make that suggestion to the city council, and the city council certainly would put it on the agenda and make decisions associated with it as Ed suggests. But across the board, I don't believe that's a high priority order within the city of Claremont to enlarge the property recreation. But nevertheless, it's never hurt to ask, and time has changed, and maybe there are more families that are interested in that activity. So by all means, just write an email to the city of Claremont and ask that to be put on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. This next question will go to you again. Excessive speeding and unsafe driving along Claremont streets has left motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians at risk. What is your plan to make Claremont streets safer for all?
Speeding definitely is a problem within Claremont. Mills Avenue is heavily trafficked, and the cars are going very, very quickly. And likewise with Mombaldi Boulevard, which I do my regular exercise on, and that's almost like a speed racing. And when you stop at the intersection on any of those cross street, you'll see tire marks, circular tire marks. People spin out and play games on the public roads. And quite often, the intersection between Mombaldi Road and Mills Avenue, there are a number of cars actually just sped right through it at full speed, because it's a nice channel turn, and for sports cars, I'm sure that's a thrill. We try to reduce the speed along all the roads in Claremont, but there is a standard procedure in setting speed limits in Claremont, or in fact in all of California. You have to take a speed survey, see what the average going speed is, and then set the speed limit on the street accordingly. But the speed limit just basically applies to the people that intend to follow the traffic rules. But in terms of addressing those individuals who are speeding unsafely, it would probably going to have to lean on officers to do a better job in terms of eliminating it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ed, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
All right. Excessive speeding and unsafe driving along Claremont streets has left motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians at risk. What is your plan to make Claremont streets safer for all?
Yeah, it's a great question. I will tell you that we are already working on this problem. This council has scheduled a citywide speed review to take place, and that is in the pipeline to be completed. We need to address the speed issues. Again, I champion to have another officer. That officer is going to help augment what we have today. We're going to increase our traffic bureau, the number of officers in our traffic bureau, to address speeding and unsafe conditions by drivers. I've said it before. I don't see any reason for, I don't have any issues with someone having a fear of a speeding ticket. It is important that we maintain safe streets. One of the other things I can share with you is that in my role as chairman of the Transportation Committee for the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, I'm working on a safe streets program to make sure that bikers and pedestrians alike are able to commute and be able to use the streets throughout the San Gabriel Valley, and that includes Claremont. And so there's a lot that is being done, will be done, and we'll continue to focus on making sure that those streets are available and safe for all that need to be on there. All the different modalities of transportation. We'll make sure that that's looked at and maintained.
Thanks, Ed. We'll move on to the next question, which is again for you. After experiencing a decline in 2018, the population of unhoused individuals in Claremont has increased. What role does the City Council have in addressing homelessness, and how would you work towards reducing the number of unhoused individuals within Claremont?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This particular issue is kind of near and dear to my heart. And as I spent part of my teenage years homeless, I talked about the ADUs earlier in our conversation today. I think that is one kind of prong of this multi-prong approach. I talked about advocating for low-income housing opportunities. I have done that. I have voted for every low-income housing opportunity presented to us. I also have suggested viable options and alternatives to low-income housing in our community. I'm supportive of bringing back CHAP, the Claremont Homeless Advocacy Program. I believe that particular organization was really focused on Claremont and addressing our residents and our homeless residents here in Claremont. I think it's important that we try to bring back CHAP. I think the role of the council, we have an opportunity to continue to work with our partners in the community and in the region to address homelessness, to address the housing opportunities. But I think the other component that is needed is mental health. And we have a great partnership with Tri-City Mental Health. And I think we need to continue to address both mental health and housing when we're looking at those that are currently unhoused. And so I look forward to continue to work with Tri-City on that.
Thank you. Peter, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I think the homeless issue is a structural issue. What the state of California does is just simply look at the number of people moving into California, the number of people moving out of California, and knowing how many homes that they have in California, they can easily calculate the number of people that are not going to have the roof over their head. And what they simply do is divide up that amount of population, and Claremont gets its own fair share of the homeless that we need to build in order to house all the unhoused. So it's a structural issue, much more so than a city issue. And as you can foresee, because of our nice weather, that the homeless will continue to increase. Simply, they don't have to avoid the cold and the heat and all the unpleasantness associated with the ambient. To address the homeless within Claremont, as you already know, the lock-in place originally was intended to house the Claremont homeless. But Jamboree, working with the state, has basically aced Claremont out in terms of being able to place our homeless in any kind of homeless housing we intend to build. So we probably have to try to solve this problem on our own. Ed mentioned the ADU is one way of doing it, and with the mortgage going up, that may be a solution, but there are others. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Our final question for today: how can we make more meaningful progress from valuing sustainability as an abstract public good and really make concrete progress towards reducing our city's environmental footprint? And how can we do that without outsourcing that work to small nonprofits?
Would you like me to address it first?
Yes, please.
All right. I happen to be on the board of the Mount San Antonio Garden retirement homes, and there they have 7 professors from the Claremont colleges, mainly from the Harvey Mudd College. And on their own, they basically looked at all the appliances within their garden, whether it's be clothes dryers or heaters or water heaters and on and on. They basically study and see how much carbon dioxide they release into the air and track the age of each of the appliances they have inside the house and came up with a plan to systematically replace these units with the new technology, with the electric units, with the perhaps in the far future, the hydrogen power vehicles, and in the immediate solution is electrical vehicles. And through study of this nature, basically get right down to the issue is to exactly how much of the air that we can clean, how long is it going to take us to do it, take a look at the cost trade-off, and tackle each of these small elements one at a time, come up with a general plan of making this happen. That, in short, is the reality that we have to do in order to make this happen.
Thank you, Peter. Ed, to you, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that would be fine. So a couple things in regards to state sustainability. Let me tell you what we've done so far. We have moved and changed out all of our street lights to LED to really improve sustainability. We have instituted an energy efficiency project that not only will make a positive impact, but also positive financial impact to our city and our organization. We're putting in solar panels. We are trying to be an example to our community as a city that they can, so that they too can come on board and also be part of the overall sustainability efforts. I think organic waste, we implemented the organic waste program before it was even a mandate. I think there's other creative ways to look at sustainability, gray water, recycling, transportation, public transportation. That is one thing that I am passionate about and have championed throughout the region and interconnecting our cities and the San Gabriel Valley through public transportation and my role as chairman of the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority. I think there's a lot of other things that we can do. But we have to be an example. And we have done that as a council in the city. We have been an example to how to be more sustainable as an organization. And hopefully that then gets our community to come on board as we continue to try to build this consensus with our community to come on board and also make sustainability a priority for their households.
Thank you, Ed. That concludes our questions for today's forums. We will move on now to closing statements. And for that, we will begin again with Ed.
And just to confirm, is that a 1 minute?
2.
All right, great. All right, so just in regards to, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this. This is great. I always get new questions, and so it's always nice to get new questions like I did today. I want to make sure, though, that all of our residents that are watching this live and will watch this recorded later, I want them to understand that all 37,000 of you are important to me. I happen to get elected by a district, a segment of our community, but I represent the entire community. I love serving Claremont. This is an absolutely amazing place. I'm proud to be a consensus builder, one that brings people together. And that is the example of that is being that I'm endorsed by all of the regional elected that represent Claremont on both sides of the aisle. I'm the only candidate endorsed by the Claremont Police Officers Association and the 2 retired police chiefs. I'm happily endorsed by all the retired colleagues of the 2010 City Council. And so there's a lot that I am really pleased with about being an existing council member. In regards to learning more about me and my priorities and what I'm about, I invite everyone to visit my website at edreece.com. Reach out to me. I'm happy to have conversation. I'm happy to have coffee. Let's connect. Let's see how we can continue to move this city down this great path we're on today. So thank you again for allowing me to be here. And I very much appreciate the work that the League does for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Peter, your closing statements.
All right. In order to get anything done in this world, you always have to plan ahead. And 15, 20 years ago, when I got on the council, I developed a document, what's called a general plan. And that general plan that we developed shortly after 2003 was to replace a general plan that was done close to 20 years ago. In fact, they end up having to dust off the dust before they can find a copy of the original general plan. So the reason I emphasize on the general plan is that's a way for the entire city to go along the same path in identifying what's priority, what's important to every individual, having the chance to argue and put on the plan and the work that would go into it to identify how we should proceed along the plan to progress the city. That really is the only concrete way of doing the work. And I work for a private company, and that basically is what we routinely do on a regular basis. When you think about it, all the people in Claremont, the 40,000 plus 160, 180 employees within the city, who would sit down and plan for the future of Claremont? When you look at the job description, there are very few individuals, if any, that have planned that identify that is one of their responsibility. And I think the city council comes very close to be the only group of people that can actually sit down and debate and plan for the future. So if I get elected, a new general plan I would push for that to develop, and everything that goes into the plan has to be received full consensus by all the people that are living in Claremont. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, for your closing remarks, as well as Ed. I would like to just take a moment and thank all of our participants today, both in the audience and Peter and Ed, and then Jessica McLaughlin, who did our timing and asked our, took care of our questions that came in live. The League of Women Voters, our main goal is to educate and empower voters, and we can only do that with the participation of other people in the community. So I would really like to give a great thank you to Peter Yao and to Ed Reece for participating in this forum today. This forum will be posted to our YouTube page. We also have a forum currently available for you to view for the Three Valleys Water District candidates, and we will be conducting a ballot pro and con for this year's California propositions. I invite you all to look at those to get ready. We're going to vote in a month. I'll see you at the polls. Thank you.